Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Carolina Works in Progress panel for the Luminal Theater on part of the Sundance Film Festival lineup that we have for our Sundance satellite screens here in South Carolina. Um, my name is Curtis Caesar John. I'm the founder of the Luminal Theater, and we want to welcome all of you and welcome our esteemed filmmakers for this unique experience, really highlighting the works and these works in progress more so of North Carolina and South Carolina filmmakers. I won't be moderating today. Our moderator will be Christopher Everett of Speller Street Films. But before he comes on, before I bring him on, actually, I just want to make sure to thank our audience members who have been so gracious and so loving at all of our film events so far. We finished our in-person screenings yesterday, and they've been really fantastic. And we really want to thank them all and thank our sponsors, Spotlight Cinemas Capital 8, who was our venue partner for this year's festival here in South Carolina. And also our main sponsors, Red Olive Creative Consulting, Speller Street Films, and Carolina Film Network. Also, we definitely want to thank our volunteers who have been helping out with our in-person screenings and all our community partners, Carolina Film Festival, Cine Odyssey Film Festival, and the Black Collective, and also our Luminal Theater staffers and such who've been really indispensable in making all this happen and bringing all this content to you all. So thank you for all of that. So without any further ado, we want to get into it. So I will bring on Christopher Everett of Speller Street Films, who will be moderating, as I said, today's program with Atinuke Akintola Diver and Roni Nicole Henderson Day. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Chris Everett, and I'll be moderating today's Carolina Works in Progress virtual program today. Today, we'll be featuring two filmmakers, Atinuke Diver and Roni Nicole Henderson, both working on new and exciting film projects, looking to get a community perspective on their stories and characters before completing their films. The first clip up we are going to show will be from the documentary This Belongs to Us, directed by Atinuke Diver. This Belongs to Us follows the journey of Black female beer brewers in the South and explores the questions of how an art form and craft that began in Africa became synonymous with white male blue-collar identity in the United States. This is a film that I look forward to. I'm a beer drinker myself, so this film really resonated to me, and also finding that this craft started in Africa. So let's check out this clip, and we'll be right back with a discussion with the director of This Belongs to Us.
Growing up in North Carolina as a black woman, black girl, you got to deal with people and their assumptions of you, their expectations that you don't know what you're doing, or you didn't get to where you are because you do know what you're doing. It is what it is. I say fuck 'em and keep it moving. My name is Brianna Brake, the founder and brewmaster at Spaceway Brewing Company, currently located in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Yeah, I make beer. My mom was worried. She thought I lost it. She was like, "Wait, I thought you were in law school, and now that you're doing beer. What are you doing?" My grandma was calling me bootlegger. Yeah, she called me. She's like, "You're just like your granddaddy." I was in law school, and I was also working at a law school. I learned a lot, but I realized I also learned I didn't want to be a lawyer. Especially coming from, my community, my family, brewing, that's not even a thing. Like, we don't know anything about that. So for me to jump out in something that nobody in my family has even ever considered or even heard of, it's unheard of. Like, no, girl, you're a black girl, go get that law degree and get you that good job and, hold on to it. So it took a little while for them to see, to get an understanding of exactly what I'm doing. I just posted a picture yesterday of my grandma on Instagram of her holding 2 of my beer cans, because I walked in her room and saw she's got the cans on her dresser. Even though she doesn't drink beer, like, she is all in. My mom is my number one helper, my number one. If anything I need that she can do, she's there now. But in the beginning, it was like, man, if you don't get your butt back in law school. I'm from Durham, Bull City, North Carolina. About an hour up the road. Born and raised. Durham has changed so much over, from when I was a kid to now, and just from like the past 10, 15 years to now. It's a lot of gentrification. There's a lot of, the town has grown, so there's a lot of money in Durham now, and that's a big part of why I'm out here in Rocky Mount now, because I wasn't able to start my brewery in my community like I wanted to, because I couldn't afford it. When people do go out to hang out and they see a brewery and they go into it, they don't see anybody or very few people that look like us. So you think, well, so that creates something in their mind, like, this is not a place for me. I'm not going to hang out here because I can't relate to the music. I can't relate to the people here. What is this trivia night they're having? Why is this? What are these? I can't answer those. I don't know these things that they're talking about. This is not, clearly it's not for me. There's a musician back in the day named Sun Ra. He's kind of credited with being the patron saint of Afrofuturism, this whole philosophy of pop culture, images of the future, being more not just inclusive of black and brown people, but seeing black and brown people as leaders, as main characters in these narratives. And so Sun Ra had a song called "We Travel the Spaceway from Planet to Planet." I thought that was perfect for this industry, because that's also a part of my goal, I want to make the best beer possible, but also I want to bring about awareness to people that look like me, that this is even a thing that they could do, that this is an opportunity, that there are so many doors that can open.
All right. Powerful piece, powerful piece. I wanted to also remind people, definitely leave your comments, your questions on YouTube and our Facebook page that you're watching, whichever platform you're watching the Facebook, this event today, either it's Facebook or our YouTube page. Please send your questions and your comments. It's very vital and critical for filmmakers to get those questions and this feedback during this time. But definitely, I want to welcome Atinuke Diver to the screen, and we're going to chop it up, about her project. Great stuff, great stuff. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've got my tissue here in case I start crying because I'm such a such a crybaby. But...
Cool. Yeah, I just want to remind people again who just tuning in, leave your comments and your questions on the YouTube and the Facebook page, so Atinuke can answer them. This is definitely an interesting topic we're about to dive into. Let's start it off. What inspired you to make this film, and also how did you come up with the title as well?
Yeah, so this is a confluence of like all of these different points of my life kind of intersecting. So in December, so I guess to take a step back, so I'm the oldest daughter of Nigerian immigrant parents. And, growing up, my dad doesn't drink beer anymore, but growing up, when he did drink beer, they're usually only just either Guinness or Heineken and like, maybe some Malta around the house if there was a party or something. But the first beer brewer I ever met was an African man. We had a family friend that was a brewer in Nigeria, and I was aware of how many European brands did brewing in African countries, and I was aware I had this very like Afrocentric kind of grounding and understanding of like the history of beer, and in Egypt and in Ethiopia and things. And so, fast forward, I moved back to North Carolina in 2015. And craft beer is a big industry in North Carolina. We have North Carolina has the most craft breweries per capita than any other state in the U.S. And what I was seeing when I would go into breweries or beer bottle shops or things looked very different than kind of what I knew to be what was inherently kind of an African Black or craft. Right. So in December of 2018. I was going to see an art show by an artist who I'd done an audio project on in Durham, downtown Durham, and a brewery had just opened up a space nearby. And it was one of these nights in North Carolina that was like warm in December, and so the brewery had like the garage doors open. People were out front playing cornhole, as one does at a brewery in North Carolina. And the artist, who's a local artist in Durham that a lot of folks know, Gemini. Gem's art is very centered on Black femmes and Black bodies. And so I walked by this brewery and like everybody was white. And then I walk into Gem's space and it's like blackity, black, black, black. And then I walk back to my car and everybody's white again. And then like, mind you, I'm also near like one of the large public housing communities in Durham. So it was like, I felt like I was literally in this vortex of like all these different versions of Durham, like all, intersecting at this point. And fast forward a few months, so this would have been 2019, February, I was actually at the Hayti Film Festival. And during one of the breaks, they were serving beer made by Celeste Beatty of Harlem Brewing Company. And the person was like, oh, this is a Black woman who, makes this beer. We're like, oh, this what's up. Yeah, it's cool. And the person was like, yeah, and she's training and apprenticing this young woman in Eastern North Carolina to make beer. And we were like, okay, but then I was like, are you really? Like, and I think part of it is we've internalized this very flat narrative of, the state and particularly Eastern North Carolina. And so I kind of just bookmarked it because, I started kind of thinking about this as something I was interested in. So I was researching and kind of doing development, took a research trip to Pittsburgh that summer to Fresh Fest, which up until last year was the only national Black beer festival in the nation. And I knew that craft beer was a culture, but I didn't know Black craft beer culture was a thing. And so I like came into this other world that I didn't even know existed and was learning about just this whole other world of really passionate enthusiasts of beer who were Black and brought that into the culture. And sure enough, go up to one of the tables and it's Bree's there serving Spaceway. And I look at her card and I'm like, Rocky Mount, and she's like, I'm from Durham. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. So, a few months later, her and I met, back when we were both back in North Carolina, and I started talking to her about kind of the project and I was thinking. And since then, it's just been amazing to see both how much the issues around race and beer have come up, particularly related to just kind of what's going on in the world. And then just kind of following the development as you see more and more Black and brown folks going into this industry.
Right. Cool. I know I saw a question in the audience. One person asked, where can he buy Spaceway beer? And also, where can they buy it? And also, how has it been, I guess, documenting her putting this together as well? And just give us a little bit about her background as well. So first, tell people where they can get the beer, and also just talk a little bit about her background and how she came to put this thing in Rocky Mount.
Yeah, so I just saw Diane Robertson. I agree. I was going to actually recommend the co-op. So if you're in Durham, in particular, North Carolina, or the Triangle, I would say Durham Co-op and Weaver Street co-op locations all carry it. I believe also saw Bree posted that I think Total Wine and Briar Creek has it now. So check some of the Total Wine locations in your area. And then I would go to spacewaybrewing.com and find out if you're outside of North Carolina, because of the way that distribution works, that I think may affect availability and shipping. But the best way would be going to spacewaybrewing.com and hitting up Bree to find out if she can ship to you, depending on where you are. And I think she's still doing deliveries as well. So I know if you're in the local area and you can't get it, you're not close to one of the stores where it's sold, that she may be able to do delivery in certain vicinities. And then some of the bottle shops as well around, I think particularly in Durham in particular, should have them. And if you're in Rocky Mount, in addition to getting, Bree just moved into her tap room space in the, I can't remember the name of the arts district she just moved into in downtown Rocky Mount. So she has a tap room open now, so you can get cans and I believe some stuff on draft. And there's a few restaurants in Rocky Mount that also serve her beer on draft.
Cool. All right, going back to Bree, how has it been, I guess, documenting her through this process of being a female as well, and also being Black, and trying to really make her mark in this industry? I remember you told me before she was from Durham, but she had to end up going to Rocky Mount to do this thing. Give us a little bit of that background.
Yeah. So I would say that overall it's been very inspirational. I will never kind of question the price of craft beer, because when you see the literal blood, sweat, and tears that goes into making, this product, you're like, all right, I will pay that. That's good investment. And it's been this really interesting parallel experience for me too, because I see, as I'm on this journey of making this film, and this being my first feature as a documentarian, I've seen parallels and I've learned a lot from just watching Bree, as she's also emerging as an entrepreneur and figuring it out, and all the bumps in the road and the mistakes that we all make as we're trying, we're on this journey and figuring it out. And I think one of the things I appreciate about Bree's approach to her craft is how much intention she puts behind it. She draws so much inspiration from her upbringing in Durham and from the time that she grew up in Durham, the influences in terms of art and music, and, she was a, voracious reader. And so I really appreciate just the art form in terms of how she makes beer, and it's really good beer, how she makes the beer, but then also how, the design of her cans and just all of those things. I think it came up in this piece about her kind of grounding and centering around Afrofuturism, and that's a big part and inspiration. But growing up in a community where that's, because of the change that's going on and a lot of the development, having to go to Rocky Mount to actually start her brewery. And I think I don't want to spoil anything or tell Bree's story at a turn, right. But I think that I'll just say that there's a difference between the reception that Bree got from even, certain members of folks in Durham when she first started off on this venture versus now, kind of years later. So. Right.
Cool. All right. We got another question right here for Dorian Emerson. What other documentaries did you take influence from, for this film?
There are a few beer. I did watch some beer documentaries that people recommended, and kind of documentaries in the genre of I'll give a shout out to, Byron Hurt, who's one of our mentors for the 2020 Works in Progress, Glorious and Working Films. He did Soul Food Junkies. I had just finished watching United Skates, which I know showed at Hayti last year, but somehow I missed it. And so I just started watching it. And so I think just that that really intimate kind of approach to the story, and kind of the importance on focusing on voice, and focusing on, I think one of the important aspects to lift up in this project is about also the community that surrounds Bree in this effort, you know, in Rocky Mountain, Durham, and everywhere in between, because I feel like as filmmakers, that's something that's so important to us in our development, like having a community that surrounds you, having artistic folks or non-artistic folks, or just people who are invested in your success. Mr. Charlie, who's in one of the scenes, is, you know, grew up in Rocky Mount, retired, moved away, came back, and he was there during the canning day when I was shooting. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Charlie, you could just be chilling in your lazy boy, you know, next Netflix and chilling, you know. And he grew up in Rocky Mount in the 50s. He remembers seeing the Klan, you know, march through town, and like all the things that his parents were trying to guard and protect him from. And I said, well, why are you here when you could be, you know, doing other things? And he said, because I don't want to see her fail, you know? And so just that the depth of that investment from a community in your success, I think is something I really wanted to capture. So those are some of the films, those types of films I'm looking for, but I'm always open to recommendations, Dorian. So for inspiration.
Cool. That's good stuff. Next question from the audience. They're saying, tell us about the historical narrative of the film.
Yeah. So that's actually one thing that wasn't in this clip that I'm focusing on in terms of kind of the next phase of production. Sometimes folks start with primary research first as a way to kind of create that skeleton, which I think is inevitably will be in the final product. But part of that is because of COVID. A lot of the shooting I'd planned to do with beer scholars and researchers and folks who look at this really closely kind of got upended with COVID, particularly for those that are not, you know, local to North Carolina. But in terms of what I'm hoping to capture is I really want to explore this kind of tension I see in terms of the production of beer and the consumption of beer historically, particularly in the Black community, as seeing both an oppressive force and a liberating force. And I don't think it made it in this clip, but one of the things Bree and I talked about was also like the influence of religion, particularly being in the South and making alcohol, basically. And, you know, just the influence of, you know, religious institutions or the Nation of Islam, you know, leaders like Dick Gregory who pushed, you know, veganism, things like that. And just like the history of alcohol production. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, you know, we need to talk about malt liquor. And the fact that, you know, for many of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, we have this image, you know, of Billy D. Williams with his Colt 45, you know, and Ebony or Jet, whatever. And that for a lot of us, the earliest formations we had of what, you know, beer, you know, was. But the fact of the matter is you had beer companies who are already making beer decide to make an inferior product with inferior ingredients that was cheaper and heavily directly market it to Black folk. Like, y'all are out here trying to kill Black people. So I think that using that word reclaim is really intentional because it is going back to not just kind of the craft, but it's also about, you know, the freedom. And I think that Bree touches on this, the freedom to kind of choose that path that you know, that Bree did, but also particularly as you see the rise of, you know, sobriety in younger generations, the freedom not to. So those are some things that I also want to explore in terms of from the historical perspective, the marketing, the advertising, how all of that kind of fed into how the industry looks the way it does today.
Right. Next question. Also, someone was curious, like, will you be including, I guess, some of this historical and archival footage, maybe of, you know, previous brewers of the past, and you know, how's that looking?
Yeah. So I've started doing a little digging myself, and we'll be launching crowdfunding later this month. So I want to hire an archivist to really focus on that in particular. But yeah, I have started, you know, finding some archival photos of Black women brewing, both in the U.S. And in, you know, various countries in Africa, as well as even just beer halls where you had Black folks, you know, present and attending and enjoying. So.
Cool. I think we got time for one more question. Oh man, there's someone coming directly from Brazil.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, they said, can you tell us about a surprise you had or something you learned about during this filmmaking process? What surprised you? What did you learn while filming?
What surprised me? What surprised me? I mean, I guess that honestly the biggest surprise was just how much work it is. like when you decide to approach making a product in a less kind of large industrial scale way, that was one of the biggest surprises. I think the other big surprise too is when I was shooting with Bree in October, it was a Blacktoberfest, which is a new Black beer festival that just recently started by Mike Potter, who recently relocated from Pittsburgh to Rocky Mount. And I got invited by Dr. Lisa, who's a community member in Rocky Mount, to this community tour. And so one of the things that's been surprising is learning about Rocky Mount as a place and as a part of this film, Thelonious Monk being born there, Dr. King giving his I Have a Dream speech there before he gave it in Washington. And so just the deep history of Rocky Mount has been something that has surprised me and is like kind of where I am right now in terms of also digging into and learning more about.
Cool. All right. Thanks again for chatting with us today, man. I really enjoyed it. Again, everyone, this is Atinuke Diver, the director of This Belongs to Us. We're going to bring her back later on because I know people want to know how can we support this. So we're going to bring her back later on so we can chop it up about that as well. People want to get behind this project. So next up, the next clip that we have for you will be showing the narrative film Grace, directed by Roni Nicole Henderson. Grace is an exploration of 3 generations of women dying slowly, consumed by silence. The youngest, Nina, has to discover how to unearth those parasitic memories in her bloodline and free herself and her family from the poison of secrecy. This is a film also that I look forward to, and Roni is very talented. And you guys are going to enjoy this clip. So check out this clip and we'll be right back with the discussion with the director of Grace. Oh man, powerful stuff, powerful stuff. Everyone, I just want to remind you before we bring Roni on, please leave your questions and your comments in the chat section, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, so Roni can answer your questions for a powerful film. All right, we're going to introduce Roni. She's about to come on, and we're about to chop it up with her about her narrative film, Grace. Hey, what's up, Roni? How you doing?
Hi, everybody. Oh man, hey Chris, how are you?
It's going well. Oh man, you had me over here about to shed some tears, man.
That's why I got the fan, brother.
I know they blowing up in the comments section right now. Let's go ahead and get into it. I guess tell everybody how did you come up with this concept? Like, what inspired you to make this? And I know this is a work in progress, and I know you want to do it as a feature. So, but how did you come up with the story to do this?
Well, this is my story. This is my sisters and brother's story. This is my mother's story and my grandmother's story, or an aspect of it. Years ago, after my mother passed away, I moved home and I ended up living in her room at my grandmother's house. And pretty much all the things that she did not say in her life, I just started to get flooded with visions and dreams. And they were so vivid that I decided to talk to family about it and kind of piece together the story of this, beautiful, artistic woman who was my mother, Phyllis Jean Ibaye. And, just I figured I had to make it. And so I left teaching and went to film school, and I was given a full ride, which my grandmother said would happen because it was meant to be. And it was a story that needed to be told. So yeah, it's a personal story, which is why I've been so patient about it. This film is 12 years old. And it's, any filmmaker can tell you it's hard to watch old work.
I understand.
But this is one of those films that when I watch it, it doesn't matter, that I've grown in terms of production values. I still cry because, it's kind of heartbreaking, but we're here. My brothers and sisters, shout them out. They're in the chat. And we made it. And we made it in large part due to one another and due to the love of our parents in spite of their addiction. A lot of times Black folk are not allowed to, be sick, in terms of addiction. We're seeing all kind of ways. But the opioid crisis is not new for us. After Vietnam, the streets were flooded with heroin and ailing people. And a lot of them took that route. And, my parents were beautiful artists. And I never for one moment thought that they did not love us. But, they were in pain. And so as their daughter, as one of their children, I've taken it upon myself to be transparent in this life and talk and tell our stories and not judge folks who end up making decisions out of, their pain. So that's where Grace was born. And it's time to make the feature. It's time to see the whole story. Well, at least, from my perspective.
Right. Totally. Again, folks that are tuning in right now, checking out this program, remember to put your questions in the comments section, whether you watch it on YouTube or Facebook. But we're about to roll with some questions. I think I see one question now. Where is it at? Yeah, Andrew got one. How can we as a community help? We're also going to talk about this right after this section also, but how can the community help, with your project?
I will make it really plain. I am in need of spirit-led producing team. people who know how to follow the current, as they say, to get this feature made. And also, you know, on that, in terms of those producers, folks who know how to attract the money. Right. So that's where we are. Our feature script is about 98% there, and I'd love to get a critical eye on that, because it is a personal story. Sometimes, you know, you need folks to say, you know, help you kind of shape and mold it. But it's been with me a good while, and I've grown as a filmmaker. So it's time. I'm ready.
Cool. Next question. Looks like Ariel Flowers. What were your influences in making this film, particularly the lighting influences?
Oh, that's my daughter. She went to film school with me.
Cool.
So I love that you picked her question, because she too has been through film school. So a big lighting influence for this film was City of God. One of my absolute favorite films in the world. That and aspects of Eve's Value are big for me as well. Shout out Casey Lemons. She's one of my filmmaking heroes. And the way she handles a dream sequence is just like no other. So I would say City of God and aspects of Eve's Value. So not being afraid of, you know, just the skin and diving deep into it, you know. So
cool. See, I think we got another question here. Here it is. How does the spirit of this work show up in your other work?
Great question. I would say that, you know, Grace was the beginning. It was my first real short, I would say. It was my thesis film. And, you know, really after film school, and some filmmakers can probably attest to this, the access to particular types of equipment is not necessarily there. Nobody, you know, shows up at your door. I mean, you get music videos and things like that, but fine art was kind of a refuge for me because of commissions, museum opportunities. And so I've spent the last, 12 years making film that's heavily based on the Black body in motion, so the spirit of Grace is still there. And I'll say that because I get to still make films. I'm on average making about a film every couple years now. And that's a blessing. So, I would say in that God and spirit and ancestors are still making a way for me to make film. The spirit is there. Movement, definitely. One of my favorite shots in this film is when Jeannie, played by the wonderful Nanika Pollard Gibson, it's the slump, so the foundations of my dance film, you can see here, really keying into symbolism. One day I hope to be the Toni Morrison of film, and I hope nobody drags me for that, because I might not reach that level in my lifetime, but that is my goal. So, to keep the Black gaze centered, to keep those things that are important to us and that sustain us central, symbol-wise in the work. So, yeah.
Cool. We got another question right here. One more question. Can you speak more, I guess, to the role of men in the film? In the larger work, do you see the son as the curse breaker?
Interesting. Beautiful question. So in this film, there's actually an aspect cut out. I'm lifting the veil. But in the beginning, when she's waking up, she is actually next to my father, who is huge in the feature. My father, Ronald Henderson, who I'm named after, I mean, he was a gift, he was not emotionally connected to telling the truth. I mean, I'm sorry. He didn't let emotion keep him from telling the truth. Right. So he was the one who always told us about our sister Karen, who in the feature film, you will, kind of see her story, her beautiful story unfold. But he was the one that kind of would give tidbits along the way. And so, yes, the role of men, my brother, Alexander, who my grandmother said was born jumping, this portrays his birth. This scene actually portrays his birth. Though he was not born in a dope house, he was born jumping, as my grandma says. And my grandmother's role in kind of ushering us all safely to where we are now, I just kind of smashed that symbol in there. So definitely, but I would say it's a village that has to curse break, because the support of my brothers and sisters in making sure that I had that padding. When your parents are on drugs, there's a lot that can go wrong. Right. And my brothers and sisters were always kind of a fence and a soft place to land for me. So we are curse breakers. I would say my whole family, we're doing the work. So.
Great. Yeah, like I said, I look forward, to seeing, your journey with this project, and any support you need, just let me know. And, and I saw a few folks in the comments, they want to reach out to you as well, people that are producers. So we'll definitely make those connections, after the program. But I want to bring on, what's the name as well, Atinuke as well, so we can just chop it up with both of you guys, so people can really find out what's next, what's next, the next steps. So start with you, Atinuke. What's next? Like, I guess, where are you currently with the film?
Yeah, depends which day you ask. But I would say, yeah, sometimes it feels like early production, research development, kind of bouncing between the three. And I think a lot of that is just trying to pivot with COVID and trying to balance keeping forward movement on the project, but then just being, sensitive to, we're in a pandemic and people needing, the highest priority is folks taking care of their health and not putting folks in any type of, precarious situation. So a lot of the shooting I've done recently has been, myself or just one other person, just out of sensitivity to some of those precautions. But later this month, I'm planning to launch a crowdfunding campaign to move us into kind of solid production and to move forward on a lot of the archival as well as other primary researcher interviews that I'd like to get done. I know someone in the comments, I think it was Miss Diane, asked about shooting in the motherland, and that was part of the plan. Like, my mom actually, goes back to Nigeria pretty often, and so my plan was to tag along this past September, but obviously COVID threw a wrench in those plans. So depending on how things work out with just timing and et cetera, I would love to do some shooting for the project there. But we'll see. But yeah, basically right now, just working on building out a crew. Small crew local to here in North Carolina, really committed to being part of supporting the ecosystem of so many talented, gifted artists that are here in our community and supporting that. So
cool. All right, Roni, where are you at? What's next? What's the next steps? Where are you with your project?
Well, first of all, Atinuke, I'm so excited. So anyway, I'm like, it's a short drive. I'll come crew up.
Likewise.
Yeah.
So where am I? The call from Luminal was really a gift because there's so much amazing content out here that, you can easily be like, I can be quiet for a while, I've been making shorts and things. So returning to the narrative world, I'm here now. So I would say next steps for me, it's like I said, just working out, perfecting that script and starting the process. I would love to, apply for some of these great residencies that might help nurture that process, mentorships and things like that. So I'm not gonna, until that team is kind of brought together, and we figure out, where does the funding come from and how do we how do we get there? But I'm patient because, like I said, it's not given to the swift. So, and COVID. So.
Oh yeah. I know somebody had a question, Ronnie, also, and I'll ask you this as well, Atinuke. Ronnie, I know a lot of folks want to know, I guess, the feature length film, like, I guess, how long do you think it will be? I guess, like the length wise, the running time, like 2 hours, you want to do a 3-hour feature? Like, what are you envisioning?
God, no. Well, I mean, page count wise, I'm at about an hour and 45 minutes right now. But my style is very lyrical. So we'll see. That might be one of those things, where someone helps me to find the sweet spot in terms of time. So, but it'll be a feature. So.
All right, cool. All right, Atinuke, and with your project, you thinking about doing like a docu-series, or you thinking about just doing, a short, or this thing gonna be like a feature-length documentary? Give, I guess, the audience some perspective on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, feature length, kind of that 90-ish minute, kind of mark is, what I've got in mind. So, yeah.
Cool. I guess the next question is, how can people support your films? I guess whether it's social media, website, somebody say, hey, I got 20 grand right now, I want to drop in y'all joint. Trust me, they out there. It's happened to me before. So if people want to reach out to you, we'll start with Atinuke. If people want to support, whether it's financially or as a producer, or want to, crew up with you, how can they do that? How can they get involved?
So the easiest way would just be to visit thisbelongstous.com, and you'll see there's a contact form. And if you fill out that form, it will enable me to, one, be in touch with you about any of your interests, and just to learn more and keep up with the film. And that list will be really helpful because, as I mentioned, we'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign later this month. So that is probably the most direct way. I also do have a donation page on the Southern Documentary Fund project website, which is, I believe, www.southerndocumentary.org/this-belongs-to-us. If you can find it, Chris, and put it in the chat, that would be helpful. Thank you. I forgot to mention that last week. And so the Southern Documentary Fund is my fiscal sponsor for the project, which I'm very grateful for. And so you can donate, and also you can benefit from a tax deduction if that's something that's helpful to you. And if the tax deduction is not helpful, you can donate during the crowdfunding campaign. And then on social media, pretty much This Belongs to Us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and that's it. So you can keep up with the project and kind of the progress of things. So, and I think a lot of people have already done this, but go support Bree, and if you're a beer drinker, and buy some Spaceway beer.
Cool. All right, Ronnie, how can people, if they want to get up with you, whether they want to crew up with you or be a producer, or they got some bread, to break off and support the project, how can folks do that?
For sure. So if you go to my website, in the contact section, roninicole.com/about, you'll see my email there. My phone number is also there. So, I'd love to hear from folks, or you can just email me, roni.henderson@gmail.com. So those are great ways to get in touch. Of course, we're on the socials, but I am a teacher, so those are not public.
Cool. Great. Again, I want to thank both of you guys. It's been a pleasure, especially just watching, your films again in real time. Powerful stuff. And both of y'all, my invitation goes out to both. If you need any help, just reach out to me. I definitely want to support, both of your projects, whether it's through some type of financial thing or advice or whatever, or help you, get some crew or whatever you need. Just let me know, because I love what both of you guys are doing. Both of you guys are very important too, especially Carolinas as well. And I just love folks from North and South Carolina and really elevating, Carolina filmmakers and Carolina films as well. So again, want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to give a shout out to Sundance and also my man Curtis John at the Luminal Theater, who's a good friend of mine and a good supporter as well. But again, they gave you guys the websites, the contact info. Please contact both of these filmmakers so we can get these films done and get them out to the world. Again, thanks everyone for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.